Babysitting. It sounds harmless, right? Just you, a quiet house, a sleeping child, and a few easy hours till the parents come home. But every sitter has that one night they still can't forget. The kind that starts normal, and ends with a story they wish they could erase. Because when the parents leave, the real fear begins. The silence turns heavy. Every creak feels closer. And that faint hum from the baby monitor. It starts to sound like breathing. Tonight, we're not talking about rumors or campfire myths. These stories never made the news, but they still haunt the people who live them. Real places. Real nights. Real fear. So, turn off the lights. Lock your doors. And remember, what you're about to hear could happen to anyone. After this, you might never look at an empty living room. Or a quiet night alone. The same way again. Story 1, The Face in the Baby Monitor. Her name was Sarah, 17, new to babysitting, proud of the trust the Johnsons had in her. It was a quiet suburban night, rain tapping the windows, the baby sleeping peacefully upstairs. She sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone, glancing at the baby monitor every so often. Just the steady image of the crib, and the soft crackle of static. Then the baby stirred, a small twitch, a sleepy sigh. Normal. But something in the corner of the screen caught her eye, a darker patch of shadow behind the crib. She blinked. Gone. Probably just her eyes, yet that corner felt wrong. She leaned closer, turning up the volume. The static grew louder. That's when she heard it, breathing. Faint. Rhythmic. Not the baby's. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Her chest tightened. She zoomed in. The crib came into focus, and behind it, standing perfectly still in the darkness, was a man. No face. Just a shape, broad shoulders, staring straight toward the camera. Sarah froze. The baby was still asleep. With trembling fingers, she dialed Mr. Johnson. He answered, groggy and dismissive. It's fine, Sarah. Probably glare or something. Just take a quick look, okay? Her heart pounded. She kept glancing at the monitor as she climbed the stairs. The shape hadn't moved. The breathing was louder now, closer. At the nursery door, her hand shook. She pushed it open. The crib was empty. Police searched for hours. No signs of forced entry. No footprints. No explanation. The Johnsons moved a few months later. Sarah never babysat again. And the last thing she remembers about that night was the baby monitor clicking back on as she left, showing the same empty crib, and the faint outline of someone still standing in the corner. Story 2, The Basement Door That Wouldn't Stay Locked. Her name was Emily. A sophomore in college, saving up for books by babysitting on weekends. The house she worked in was massive, marble floors, long hallways, rooms that seemed too big for the family that lived there. But what stood out the most wasn't the beauty. It was the basement door. The first time it creaked open, she thought nothing of it. Maybe a draft. Maybe old hinges. She shut it, slid the deadbolt in place, and went back to the couch. A few minutes later, creak. It was open again. She frowned, locked it tighter, and laughed it off. Old houses, she muttered. But as the night dragged on, a faint thudding sound began to echo from below. Slow. Uneven. Like footsteps that didn't want to be heard. There was also that smell, damp, sour, like something had been left to rot. When she checked the fridge, she noticed things missing. A container of pasta. Half a loaf of bread. Someone had been eating here. Living here. Her heart pounded as she tiptoed to the basement door one last time. She pressed her ear against it. Silence. Then, a whisper. Too soft to understand, but too close to ignore. She called the parents. They told her not to worry, said it happens sometimes, that the door swells and unlocks itself. But their tone was off. Calm. Rehearsed. Emily grabbed her bag and ran out of that house before they came back. Later, She learned from a neighbor that the family had taken in a distant relative years ago. A man with nowhere else to go. He was never seen again, at least, not outside. And to this day, that basement door still doesn't stay locked. Story 3, The Caller Who Knew Their Names. It was supposed to be an easy night. Pizza, a movie, and 2 quiet kids. Emily had babysat for them before, quiet street, quiet family, the kind of night nothing ever goes wrong. Rain tapped gently on the windows. The kids were curled up on the couch, lost in their movie. Then the phone rang. A local number. Unfamiliar. She answered. At first, just static. Then breathing. And then, Emily. Her throat went dry. She could still hear the echo of her name in the static. She hung up. Probably a prank. But a few minutes later, it rang again. This time, the voice said the little boy's name. Then the girls. And finally, what they were wearing. Emily's laugh cracked. Who is this? The voice chuckled softly. Don't go near the window. She turned toward the glass. Raindrops streaked down the pane. Behind them, a faint shape. Someone was standing outside. She grabbed the kids, yanked the curtains shut, and called 911. Her hands shook so badly she could barely hold the phone. The dispatcher told her to stay calm. To keep the line open. They were tracing the call. There was silence. Then the dispatcher's tone changed, flat, urgent. Emily, get the kids and leave. Now. She didn't ask why. She ran. Out the front door. Barefoot. Into the rain. Minutes later, police arrived. The trace didn't lead outside. It came from another phone line, inside the house. They found it in the upstairs hallway. The receiver still warm. And as Emily fled into the storm, she swears she heard faint laughter through the static. Not outside. But upstairs. Story 4, The Missing Parents. It was supposed to be a simple one-night job. A quiet neighborhood. A nice couple. 2 kids already in bed. The woman smiled when she opened the door, calm, polite, the kind of person you trust without thinking. She showed the babysitter around, pointed to the emergency numbers on the fridge, and said they'd be back by midnight. Everything felt normal. Hours passed quietly. She watched a movie, checked on the kids, scrolled her phone. For a moment, she thought about how easy this job was, almost too easy. Then the phone rang. An unfamiliar number. She answered. A man's voice, nervous, uncertain. Hi, this is Mr. Carter. You're the babysitter, right? We just got home, but our front door's locked. Can you let us in? She frowned. I'm already inside, she said. Silence. Then. Inside where? Her stomach dropped. The air felt heavier. From upstairs, a floorboard creaked, slow and deliberate. She grabbed her phone light and looked toward the stairs. The hallway walls were lined with family photos. She walked closer to one, a smiling couple with 2 blonde kids. But the children sleeping upstairs had dark hair. Her phone slipped from her hand. The line was still open. The voice on the other end whispered her name. Once. Then again. Listen to me, he said. Get out of that house. Now. But by the time she turned toward the door, someone was already standing there. Every story tonight had one thing in common, trust. A familiar home. Kind parents. A simple job. And then, something shifts. The silence feels heavier. The air starts to watch you back. Maybe that's what makes babysitting so unnerving. You're alone, in someone else's world, protecting what matters most to them. while something you can't see learns everything about you. Because sometimes, the scariest part of babysitting isn't what happens after midnight. It's who you let inside before it begins. So the next time a quiet house feels a little too quiet, remember these stories. And remember, after tonight, you might never babysit the same way again.